Welcome to the Radiology Vault, an open repository for radiology educational content designed for learners and medical professionals. Presented by the Michigan Medicine Department of Radiology.
Hi, my name is Kathy Borovicka. I'm one of the breast imagers from the Department of Radiology at the University of Michigan, and today I'm going to be discussing granulomatous mastitis. Granulomatous mastitis is a benign inflammatory disease of the breast. The etiology can be idiopathic or it can be associated with the Corynebacterium species. It has a persistent or reoccurring course. It's often seen in premenopausal Paris women, and the differential diagnosis includes mastitis with infection, breast carcinoma, or foreign body granuloma. Cystic neutrophilic granulomatous mastitis is a subtype of granulomatous mastitis. It has a distinct histological pattern where there's a central lipid vacuole, the cystic component, lined by an inner rim of neutrophils, the neutrophilic component, and then there's also an outer rim of non-necrotizing granulomatous inflammation. The diagnostic feature can be focal and may not be included in the biopsy specimen, and there's a strong association with Corynebacterium species, but the presence can be difficult to prove. This is a pathology slide of granulomatous mastitis suggestive of cystic neutrophilic granulomatous mastitis. You can see this outer rim of granulomatous inflammation. There's an inner rim of neutrophils and a central lipid vacuole with crisp borders. Presentation of granulomatous mastitis often includes a tender, palpable mass. The skin can be erythematous, edematous, and there may be a draining sinus. The breast is often enlarged and heavy, and abscess formation is typically seen later on. Most of the time, this is unilateral, greater than 90%, and there can be axillary adenopathy in about 28%. Location, it can be peripheral in 50%, subareolar in 25%, and diffuse in an additional 25%. The mammogram has a variable appearance. Asymmetry would be seen on one view. Focal asymmetry would be seen on two views, both the MLO and the CC, or you may see a mass, which has convex borders. There may be skin thickening and edema. It's mammographically occult in about a quarter of cases, 24% of cases, often because of dense breast tissue. You may see axillary adenopathy on the MLO projection, and it's rare to see suspicious findings like architectural distortion and calcifications. On the mammogram, this is an example of a left MLO tomo and left spot CC tomo. You could see with the yellow arrow, there's lymphadenopathy in the axilla. With the orange arrow, there's a BB marker placed at the skin with no mammographic finding due to the breast density. The subsequent ultrasound showed a fluid collection at the 4 o'clock position of that left breast that extended superficially adjacent to the nipple with a skin fistula. In the left axilla, there was a slightly thickened lymph node with a cortex of 4 millimeters. Ultrasound typically shows an irregular hypoechoic mass with tubular extensions. Basically, the granulomatous mastitis insinuates around the lobules rather than infiltrates them. The margins can be lobulated, indistinct, or irregular. This is an ultrasound case of a patient with a palpable abnormality in the right breast retroareolar at 3 o'clock. There was an ill-defined hypoechoic area measuring up to 4.2 centimeters that extended to the skin. There was no mobile fluid or debris, and there was mild surrounding hyperemia. On ultrasound, you may see hypervascularity due to the inflammatory component. There can be a confluence of masses, a fluid collection, or possibly an abscess later on, skin thickening and edema, and axillary adenopathy. This is another case of an ultrasound presentation with the left breast at 10 o'clock, 6 to 7 centimeters from nipple. There was an irregular fluid collection with debris that measured up to 3.3 centimeters. There was adjacent tissue hypervascularity and mild skin thickening with focal fluid within the skin demarcated by this orange arrow. Here's another case of a mammogram showing a mass, skin thickening, and axillary lymphadenopathy. The mass can be seen retroareolar with a yellow arrow. There is skin thickening demarcated by the blue arrow. That's best seen on the right CC tomosynthesis projection. And there's also axillary lymph nodes seen in the axilla on the right MLO tomosynthesis projection. The accompanying ultrasound for this case showed an irregular 5.6 centimeter heterogeneous mass at the 4 o'clock position retroareolar of the right breast at the palpable concern. There was hypervascularity and extension to the skin. You can see the skin is also very thickened and edematous. And there were multiple thickened lymph nodes in the right axilla, and I'm showing one thickened right axillary lymph node here on this image. This went to aspiration, and the microbiology showed Corynebacterium species and also some inflammatory cells. Cytology showed no malignant cells. There was some debris and histiocytes also demonstrated on the cytology. In terms of breast magnetic resonance imaging, it can be ordered. Typically we do ultrasound and mammogram, but sometimes the clinical team will also order breast MRI just to show extent. It's commonly reported that we see heterogeneously enhancing mass or masses with rim enhancement or segmental or regional enhancement. There can be a confluence of masses. Breast edema will show T2 hyperintensity on the T2 sequence. You'll see skin thickening, possibly sinus tracts, axillary adenopathy like we see with mammogram and ultrasound. And later on in the course of the disease, where there's scarring and fibrosis, you'll see T2 hypointensity on the T2 sequence. Here's another case of a patient presenting with this time a focal asymmetry on the mammogram. That's here shown with the orange arrow. This was at the site of palpable concern, and there's a triangular palpable marker placed at the skin. The ultrasound of this case, left retroareolar, showed a hypoechoic irregular mass measuring up to 2 centimeters with extension to the nipple. An ultrasound-guided corneal biopsy was recommended, and the pathology showed mixed acute and chronic granulomatous inflammation. A breast MRI was ordered by the clinical team, and there was a 2.5 centimeter irregular retroareolar T2 hyperintense enhancing mass with rapid washout kinetics. The mass extended towards the nipple, and there was slight nipple retraction. The differential diagnosis for granulomatous mastitis is mastitis with infection, breast carcinoma, which includes invasive ductal carcinoma, invasive lobular carcinoma, and inflammatory breast cancer, foreign body granuloma, systemic granulomatous process, and diabetic fibrous mastopathy are also in the differential. The distinguishing features of granulomatous mastitis from inflammatory breast cancer include focal breast edema, a slower onset. The skin has isolated skin induration, a younger mean age of 44, and a painful palpable mass. Versus inflammatory breast cancer, you'll see more diffuse breast edema, a rapid onset. The skin has more of a peau d'orange appearance, so diffuse lymphovascular invasion. Older mean age of 54, and the clinical exam shows a warm breast and unilateral breast enlargement. This is an example of a pregnant patient where the ultrasound of the left breast at 3 to 4 o'clock, 4 centimeters from the nipple at the area of concern, showed an irregular and indistinct hypoechoic mass that showed internal vascularity and measured up to 6 centimeters. The left axilla showed this prominent lymph node with focal cortical thickening of 0.6 centimeters or 6 millimeters, and there were 2 additional prominent lymph nodes that are not shown. Because of the concerning features under ultrasound, we did perform a mammogram in this pregnant patient, and you can see the left CC tomo and left MLO tomo show a large indistinct high density mass centrally in the breast, demarcated by an orange arrow here. There are also 3 prominent lymph nodes in the left axilla, demarcated with the yellow arrow. The pathology from the ultrasound-guided biopsy for this case showed granulomatous inflammation, probably cystic neutrophilic granulomatous mastitis. The gram stain was negative for organisms, and the left axillary biopsy was negative for carcinoma, demonstrating a reactive lymph node, and clinical follow-up was recommended. In terms of treatment, there are no definite treatment guidelines. Treatment is based on each individual case, the characteristics, the clinical symptoms, and the severity of the disease. The disease itself can be relapsing. Clinicians will also use the step-up approach where they start with the least invasive and best tolerated therapies first, and then move on to more progressive treatment when the disease is severe and refractory. Literature does mention that this disease will spontaneously resolve in 5 to 7 months with observation. However, treatment is always given for pain control like NSAIDs, which may also aid in resolution. Suppressive antibiotics such as doxycycline may be given based on culture results such as for Corynebacterium treatment. There can be also oral corticosteroids given, but there are systemic side effects. So more commonly now, patients are getting intralesional steroid injections, and these are given for advanced cases where we can avoid these systemic side effects of oral steroids. These often require repeated intralesional steroid injections. This is an example of an intralesional steroid injection. Prior to the injection, an aspiration is performed. In this case, no organisms had grown from the microbiology. Then via ultrasound guidance, the steroid suspension was instilled into the periphery and central aspect of the fluid collection. This is just a figure showing the locations of where the steroid is injected, which includes at the edges and the center of the lesion. We avoid the skin because of skin depigmentation and skin atrophy. And we use triamcinolone 40 milligrams per milliliter in suspension with 1% lidocaine at our institution. Treatment can also include immunosuppressive agents such as methotrexate, and that's usually reserved for patients who don't respond to steroids or who have a contraindication to their use. And then surgical treatment is the last resort. That can include drainage procedures, local excisions, or even total mastectomy, depending on the severity. These patients will be often sent to surgery, as well as possibly rheumatology or infectious disease for their continued treatment of granulomatous mastitis. So in conclusion, granulomatous mastitis is a benign inflammatory condition, often idiopathic, but can also be associated with the Corynebacterium species, including the subtype of cystic neutrophilic granulomatous mastitis. There are variable imaging presentations. Differential diagnosis does include carcinoma, so we often use ultrasound-guided core needle biopsies and fine needle aspiration for pathology and microbiology. Treatment is based on individual cases and can include antibiotics such as doxycycline, NSAIDs, immunosuppressive agents like methotrexate, and then also ultrasound-guided intralesional steroid injections in the radiology department. Here are my references, and I want to say a special thank you to my colleagues in breast imaging, radiology, and surgery for contributing towards this talk. Thank you.